economy and its money. But in addition, Israel has to wage a big war, which even non-Muslim political analysts are now anticipating. A big war. Even Jews now within Israel, I'm getting emails, even Jews within Israel, Jewish academics who are up in opposition to the Sharon government, they are now understanding that there's something big about to happen. And they're warning the world about it. Of course, it's too late now. Israel has to wage this big war, which is already planned long ago. And the territory of the state of Israel will dramatically expand. And the Palestinian problem will be solved because they'll be exported out. That is the massive human rights crime that the Israeli academics are now anticipating and warning the world about. But in addition, in order for Israel to become the ruling state in the world, not only must she take control of all of this territory, she must also control the oil. Now that's going to be a very, very important event in world affairs. If Israel takes control of this oil, Israel will have her hands on the throat of the world. Not so much Britain and the United States, because Britain has North Sea oil. The United States has a lot of oil, sufficient to meet its domestic consumption. And so who is going to have Israel at their throats? The answer, Europe, Japan, and the rest of the world dependent upon Middle East oil. But particularly Europe and Japan. Which is why at this moment you will notice a lot of strange noises coming out of Europe in hostility to the United States. Because the Europeans are beginning to open their eyes and now beginning to slowly understand what we knew all along. Yes. This is why the German minister made a statement concerning Mr. Bush and acting in a way like Hitler acted. It's not by accident. But Israel has a PhD in deception, because it's Dajjal at the back of this, the mastermind. And Israel would not want to wage a big war and appear to the world naked, clearly as an aggressor. No, that's not deception. Israel has to wage her big war and make it appear as though she was only defending herself. The only Muslim I know of who has had the capacity to be able to penetrate the deception that has been going on all these years, the only one I know of, was a man who never went to Al-Azhar University. Now, he wasn't a sheikh. His name was Malcolm X. He's the only man I know of who had that eyes wish to see and clearly recognize the strategy and the deception. Read Malcolm X. How is Israel going to launch this big war and yet get away from being perceived by the whole of humanity as the aggressor, blatant aggression? You have to come with a good strategy. The strategy is this. Ariel Sharon goes into Masjid al-Aqsa with 1,000 Israeli military with him, with their shoes on, with the full knowledge that this calculated act of extreme provocation must have a response, a fiery response. And as the flames of the new intifada emerge, You must keep it burning by committing upon the Palestinian people more and more atrocities that drive them into a greater and greater rage. This is planning. This is strategy. This is not happening by accident. As Israel unleashes this barbaric oppression upon the Palestinian people, you must have a television station which you plant amongst them, which will cover this, that your Egyptian television would not cover, and your Jordanian government would not allow on Jordanian television, so you create something called Al Jazeera. And the Arab masses believe Al Jazeera is their station. This is the only place in the world we can get authentic information, Al Jazeera. So Al Jazeera is now used to portray all the atrocities. And so around the Arab world, the masses only have to tune into Al Jazeera and they know what's happening. And so the Arab masses become more and more angry, more and more enraged. And guess who begins to tremble now? The governments which are pro-American. The governments which have entered into peace treaties with Israel. These are the ones who are now trembling because their people are becoming more and more enraged. So Mubarak in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, I don't know, it's Fahad or Abdullah, and Abdullah in Jordan, and Sheikh Sabah in Kuwait, etc. Israel has to judge the temperature on the ground in the Arab world. And because Israel has a strategic military alliance with the United States of America, it is when Israel judges the temperature to be hot enough, only then will Israel give the go-ahead to the United States to attack Iraq. Only then. And you have to inform the whole world in advance that you're going to attack Iraq. So the masses must be expecting it. Why? So that when the United States attacks Iraq, you would have the kind of spontaneous outbursts and their struggle against the oppression of the Shah, that there were also others at work to help them without their even knowing it. So they have finessed this methodology of how to bring the masses out onto the streets. And this is what is about to occur. As the masses go out onto the streets, the ones who are going to be targeted are the pro-American regimes in the Arab world. The objective? To get one or more of these regimes to fall through massive demonstrations, anti-American and anti-Israeli demonstrations. Which one is likely to fall first? Let me stop. If the Jordanian government falls in consequence of the attack on Iraq, and the Jordanian government, or shall I call it the Anglo-Jordanian government, is now replaced by an anti-American, anti-Israeli, and best of all, a government declaring itself to be Islamic. If that happens, and the Jews are going to be praying for that to happen, then you will see television really coming of age for the second time. The first time was September 11th. Television will now get to work around the world, CNN leading the pack, And the media around the world will now be used to portray an impending scenario in which, like the domino effect, governments around the world of Islam, they will claim, are now going to fall. And the world of Islam is rising up now. And one-eyed Muslims, of course, are going to believe it. The world of Islam is now going to rise up, and all these governments are going to be swept away. And authentic governments representing the Muslim masses will now emerge. And therefore the Jews are going to have their throats cut. This is going to be the most dangerous moment in the entire life of the world of Jews. The media will portray it. If we don't do something, we will all be slaughtered by these Muslim fanatics. Yeah. I tell you, this will be drama worthy of Hollywood when it comes. If I do not seek to understand what's happening here, then I've got peanuts in my head. When will I wake up? A word for the so-called mujahideen who waged the struggle against Gaddafi. I hope you're listening to me. And I hope all the other allies of NATO, including the Turkish Prime Minister, are listening to me. Here is a verse of the Quran. And you do well to study the Quran. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a statement of profound importance. And in this verse he explains to us the world today. Listen one more time. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who have faith in Allah, La tattakhidul yahuda wal nasara awliya. Do not take the Jews and do not take the Christians as your friends and allies. And the Jews and the Christians will never rest contented until they get you to follow them in their way of life, their religion. Is Allah speaking about all Jews? And is He speaking about all Christians? We dismiss the nonsense that He's speaking about all Jews and He's speaking about all Christians. No. Which Jews and which Christians is He speaking about? Do not take such Jews and do not take such Christians as your friends and allies, who themselves are friends and allies of each other, as has happened in Europe. Allah is saying, these are the Jews and these are the Christians with whom I am prohibiting you from maintaining friendly ties and becoming their allies. When that Jewish-Christian alliance emerges, Allah says, La tattakhidul yahuda wal nasara awliya. Do not be friends and allies of these people. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ, says Allah. Whoever turns to them for friendship and alliance, as Saudi Arabia has done, as Turkey has done, a member of NATO, as the elite in Pakistan have done, as the elite in Egypt have done, as Jordan have done. Whosoever turns to them for friendship and alliance, فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Allah says in the Quran, you've lost your Islam. You've lost your Islam. You now belong to them. And what did they do in Libya? These brothers of ours who were taken for a ride, who had eyes and yet could not see, they joined the alliance with NATO.
They called for NATO to come and bomb. And now they are riding triumphantly that we have liberated Libya. No, you've not. NATO is in control. And you'll have to answer to Allah on the last day because you lost your Islam. Not only that, you now have a rope around Egypt's neck. And that rope is tightening now, because Egypt is now in a perilous situation. NATO will attack from the west, Israel will attack from the east. And then to save the United States, Israel will have to intervene. In the same way that to save Britain, the United States had to intervene. Iran is going to suffer serious consequences if the regime change in Syria. Iran will be isolated. The attack on Iran is pre-planned. I don't think it's because they want to simply destroy the nuclear plants in Iran. I think they have a more important perspective, that they want regime change in Iran. They want a virulently Shia regime in Iran that will become more amenable to building a relationship with Israel. The attack on Pakistan is coming. And when the attack on Pakistan takes place, it will be for the purpose of destroying Pakistan's nuclear plants and dismantling Pakistan's nuclear weapons. Israel cannot launch a big wars when Muslims have a weapon that they can use effectively against Israel. It follows, therefore, that perhaps the first attack will be Pakistan. Given the support that the Pakistan government and the Pakistan armed forces, I don't know why Pakistanis should be annoyed with me for this. This is facts. The Pakistan armed forces have betrayed Allah and His messenger monstrously. I'm talking not about the soldiers who love Islam. I'm talking about those who control strategic decision making. Don't come to me and tell me that all the soldiers in the Pakistan armed forces love Islam. I know that. I know that the Pakistani people love Islam. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those who control decision making in the armed forces and in the government. They're the ones who betray Allah and His messenger. They're the ones who for the last 10 years shamelessly have allowed NATO transit to take all the oil supplies and all the military supplies from the port in Karachi, all through Pakistan to Afghanistan, to support the killing of our Muslim brothers and sisters and children in Afghanistan, thanks to the Pakistan armed forces and Pakistan government. And you're going to be annoyed with me for condemning that? Yes, there are many people in Pakistan and the armed forces who love Islam and who detest what has happened, but they're not in control. These events are coming, and it is time for the ulama to return to the Quran. It is time for the ulama to return to the Quran and to return to Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu.
الوزر كله والإثم كله على المشيخات الذين هيجوا في هذه الحرب وهذه الوقيعة وهذا الدم وهذا الخزي. الإثم كله والوزر عليهم. رأينا الثكالى والنساء والأطفال الذين باتوا ويفيقون على الجوع، ورأينا أولئك الأشياخ وهم يطيرون إلى لندن وإلى تركيا طاعمين ناعمين في الفنادق وفي القصور. قالوا للناس اذهبوا إلى الحرب وإلى الجهاد المقدس. يحمل وزر هذا اتحاد العلماء الذي جعل الحرب وجعل قبلة الحرب في الشام. إنما نحن لا نرى داعش تقتل النصرة والنصرة تقتل الجبهة الإسلامية. فيا حوبة اليرموك ويا ويل اليرموك إن اجتمع عليه هؤلاء. فإن سلموا للنصرة لم ينجوا من داعش، وإن سلموا لداعش لم ينجوا من الجبهة، وإن سلموا لهم جميعا ذبحوهم جميعا. متى يفيق هؤلاء؟ متى ندع بعضنا لبعضنا؟ ما ذنب مخيم؟ إذا أردت أن تقاتل لأجل أمر ما والأمر مفضوح، يقاتلون لأجل كرسي عفن، وقد استبان الأمر كما رأيناه في ليبيا وفي غير ليبيا. ما بال الفلسطينيين؟ ما بالنا في هذا؟ أراد أن يقيم دولة الإسلام على دماء المسلمين، فلا دولة له ولا دين له. إنما الأمر ما قال الله وقال رسوله: ملل الكذب، أغيثوا أهل اليرموك برغيف وأغيثونا بالصدق، كفوا عنا الكذب، كفوا عنا هذا البهتان. أنبياء الله ما جاءوا بهذا ولا جاءوا لهذا. ضعوا تلك الرايات الكذابة، احموا دماء المسلمين، لا تسفكوا دماء المسلمين، فضحتم المسلمين قبل أن تفعلوا.
When an army liberates every territory on its way to Jerusalem, there will be in that army Imam al-Mahdi. And so the liberation from oppression in the Holy Land is not going to come about through any negotiations conducted by Condoleezza Rice.
So when the Kafirs plot and plan to destroy Islam, they sow the seeds of their own destruction without even realizing it.
الله أكبر من أمريكا وأكبر من القوى العظمى، ونقول لهذا الغرب: ستهزمون والله. والأمة العربية والإسلامية اليوم صاعدة ناهضة، سوف تستعيد زعامة العالم.
فهي أمريكا تخرج من العراق وتخرج من أفغانستان وستخرج من فلسطين بإذن الله تبارك وتعالى هي وحلفائها، تخرج مديونة مذلولة مهانة. أما شعبنا وبرنامجنا فيتقدم، ونحن اليوم نؤكد أن مشروعنا هو ليس تحرير فلسطين فقط، إن الأمة بكاملها على موعد أن ترسم البسمة على كل شباه الكون.
So the movers and shakers in this world are not sitting around watching television. They're utilizing their lives for shar, for evil. And they're spreading their facade all over the world, but they're busy at it. And the Muslims are asleep, and because we have gone to sleep, they have taken over. Because we have gone to sleep, they have taken over. And that's why we find ourselves in the horrific condition we find ourselves in. And until the Muslims wake up, it's just going to, one nightmare to another. We're just going to be in one nightmare to another. That's all it is. They're just nightmares because we're asleep. And when we wake up, then we can enter into the light of day. And Islam is a deen about waking up. That's what it is. Religion is supposed to wake people up. I mean, this is not a joke. This is reality, people. There are people that want to keep you asleep. If they don't use the drugs of white powder, they'll use the drug of television, they'll use the drug of their mass media, they'll use all these drugs, but they're going to keep you asleep because they fear the day that you wake up. That's what they fear. And you should be very well aware of that. So the movers and shakers in this world are not sitting around watching television. They're utilizing their lives for shar, for evil. And they're spreading their facade all over the world, but they're busy at it. And the Muslims are asleep, and because we have gone to sleep, they have taken over. Because we have gone to sleep, they have taken over. And that's why we find ourselves in the horrific condition we find ourselves in. And until the Muslims wake up, it's just going to, one nightmare to another. We're just going to be in one nightmare to another. That's all it is. They're just nightmares because we're asleep. And when we wake up, then we can enter into the light of day. And Islam is a deen about waking up. That's what it is. Religion is supposed to wake people up. I mean, this is not a joke. This is reality, people. There are people that want to keep you asleep. If they don't use the drugs of white powder, they'll use the drug of television, they'll use the drug of their mass media, they'll use all these drugs, but they're going to keep you asleep because they fear the day that you wake up. That's what they fear. And you should be very well aware of that.
Where is Khorasan? Khorasan, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, has been researched by the eminent Pakistani scholar, Dr. Israr Ahmad, and he has explained that Khorasan is that territory which extends from northwest Pakistan, the Pathan belt, northeast Iran, the whole of Afghanistan, and the territory north of Afghanistan. But clearly Afghanistan is in the heart of Khorasan. This territory has one thing distinctive about it, that Europe could never colonize the heart of Khorasan. The British tried when Britain was the ruling state in the world, and the British failed. And then the Russians tried when they had the superpower, the Soviet Union. And after 12 years, the Russians failed. And guess who is trying now? The war in Khorasan has just begun, Mr. Bush. I believe it is that army which will be unstoppable until it reaches Jerusalem. When you see that army coming from Khorasan, the Prophet said, go and join that army, even if you have to crawl over ice. Because no one will be able to stop that army until it reaches Jerusalem. The jihad is already in force to liberate the Holy Land. No one can stop that jihad. No one can stop it. The jihad is already in force to liberate the territory from where the army will come, from Khorasan. No one can stop that jihad. Al-Mahdi cannot emerge until Israel has become the ruling state in the world. Al-Mahdi cannot emerge until Dajjal has completed his mission. Al-Mahdi cannot emerge until this state of Israel has ruled the world for a day which is like a week. Al-Mahdi cannot emerge until the water has dried in the Sea of Galilee. So stop these foolish questions. As he approaches Mecca, people are going to come out to him, so this has to be a well-known person. Not some obscure non-entity, a well-known person. When the people of Mecca come out to him, they'll force him to accept the bay'ah, the oath of allegiance which legitimizes the leadership of the Amir al-Mu'mineen, bay'ah. He will accept the bay'ah at the Kaaba and then proclaim himself to be Al-Mahdi. It is only then that you would know that Al-Mahdi is here. But after he proclaims himself Al-Mahdi, he's going to be attacked from an army, with an army from Sham. That army comes down to the south, and armies are under the control of governments. And when that army is between Medina and Mecca going down south, the earth is going to open and swallow that army. That is the sign of all signs. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, validating the claim of this man that he is the Mahdi. When Darul Islam is restored in the Arabian Peninsula, this is now the most dangerous and potent of all threats to the state of Israel. Dajjal will now attack. He's now in a day which is like our day. And so we see him, a Jew, a young man, powerful, built, curly hair. But I'm not saying anything about his eyes because you understand the hadith about the eyes now. The Jews are rubbing their hands. We got them now. There's no escape. We got them. We have them in our sights now. At that last moment, the Son of Mary comes down with his hand resting on the wings of two angels. As the Son of Mary comes down in the masjid, Imam al-Mahdi says, here he is, this is the Son of Mary. And then the Son of Mary responds and identifies himself. Imam asks him, you lead the Salat. He says, no, you are the Imam, you lead. After the Salat, then the confrontation takes place between the false Messiah and the true Messiah. And the false Messiah is killed. And then Gog and Magog are destroyed. The Sea of Galilee is dry. And after Gog and Magog are destroyed and Dajjal is killed, now the state of Israel is without any support.
The Dajjal has placed a strong hold in the very heart of Islam itself and laid a firm grip on the Muslim holy lands. But although they plan, Allah also plans, and Allah is the best of planners. The final victory will be with the Muslims.